Hello everyone, so welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss CI/CD Bamboo with AWS CodeDeploy, like how this process is gonna be worked out. In our day-to-day life, we're gonna push some code and that's gonna be auto deploy into your instance and it's gonna be up and running. So how that flow is gonna happen with Bamboo and then AWS CodeDeploy, I'm going to explain that flow in this video. First, a developer pushes a code to Git repository. So I was taking the Git repository here is Bitbucket because Bamboo is an Atlassian product. So Bamboo have a better compatibility with Atlassian product plugins. So once the code has been pushed from a developer to the repo, the Bitbucket repo, so Bitbucket will notify the commit information back to Bamboo. Now Bamboo is our continuous integration and continuous deployment process initiator, which means it first start triggering a build. So you made some changes to your repository, so it has to trigger some build. So how to build your project? So the build process is going to happen here, like starts build plan. So every application, the build phase is different. Let's say if you are working with Node, the build process is different. Similarly, you are working with the Angular, the build process is different. You are working with Java, the build process is different. So that phase is going to be happen here. And then the build, once the build starts and then the build project has been completed, so it's going to generate the deployment artifact. So after you, when you hit Maven build or else when you hit npm run build, so whatever the build commands that you are gonna be, depends on your current project, you gonna do that build step. Once after that, it is gonna generate an artifact. So these steps are being involved into the Bamboo side. So once an artifact has been generated, so we have to push this artifact, right? Because if you are not pushing this, whatever that you locally generated, a dist file or else a folder, similar kind of artifact is going to be generated, but that is no use with that. So you have to push that to some artifact repository. So here I was talking about the CI/CD flow with AWS. So the AWS have one of the service called code deploy. So the code deploy is gonna support the CI/CD process with Bamboo. So from Bamboo, once an artifact has been generated, first to have the code deploy know the information, first we have to pull this artifact to S3 bucket because AWS have S3 bucket. So S3 bucket is a simple storage where you can store any kind of object over there. Okay, so which means here your artifact is whatever the kind of extract that you generated, your dist folder or else your dist extraction, that you can directly pull it out to your S3 bucket. So it's gonna hold any type of information. So you have your information related to artifact, whatever that you generated build, that artifact is available in S3 bucket. Now similarly, thereafter, Bamboo actually intimate code deploy after it uploads a new artifact to S3 bit bucket. It will say like, hey, I've updated the S3 bucket with the latest image. You just trigger the deployment. So for that, you'll have an AWS CLI plugin. So that AWS CLI plugin that you're gonna use it in your Bamboo to initiate that process. So once that code deploy has been initiated, so now code deploy has have an event which is saying that there is a new deployment request came on our way. So what it has to do is like, so it is going for, let me just little bit zoom in. Yep. So it's assign a new version ID to upload the artifact. Okay, first you have an artifact, right, in the Bamboo. So before directly going to the AWS deploy, as per the design process, I just want to explain a little bit more about what is going to happen in case of S3 bucket. So S3 bucket, you are pushing the new artifact with some new version ID. So once that version ID has been uploaded, there's a life cycle policy which is going to do some kind of transition, and then access, who gonna access this specific object which has been pushed, what is the expiration time limits for it, and is there any schedules that has to be generated on top of it, and then is this transition is going to be applicable. So all those policies based on S3 that we're going to add for this newly added artifact. So whichever the policies that we want to apply for this specific artifact, we're going to apply that in that S3 bucket side. So then, so once you have the artifact ready, right? So you where we initiated this artifact to be pulled, so we initiated that process step from our Bamboo. So it is gonna give an information back to our lifecycle hook from Bamboo side, saying that hey, artifact version, and that this new latest artifact has been successfully published to S3. So that information and artifact related details like artifact image or else the other version related information, those kind of information, it's gonna be return sent back to Bamboo. Now Bamboo know the information. Now it has to notify the artifact available information back to our AWS code deploy. What code deploy will do? It is going to deploy your generated artifact into a specific EC2 instance or else whatever the other AWS tool you're going to use in your project. So let me a little bit zoom out. Sorry. So now we got the request to this code deploy. Now I'm just going a little bit deeper of this specific step. Sorry. So from code deploy to EC2 instance, what's going to happen? So once a code deploy got a notification from Bamboo saying that there is a deployment request available, then a deployment that's going to trigger multiple steps to get it deployed into this EC2 instance, your latest code. For that, what it will do first pulls artifact information from S3 because we have pushed our artifact to S3. From that, it's going to pull that latest version information of the specific artifact from the S3 bucket and then deploys the artifact. What does that mean by deployment phase? It's gonna just extract it and then have these files to be added over to the server, static server, or what kind of, because you see to have a multiple things it's going to take care of for your server up and running. Every server has its own style. Like if you have Java, then you'll have to deploy your var, you have to extract that similar way, and then that where you have to run it on a specific Tomcat server or whatever the server you want to. Similarly for Node, you should have been run with your Node server. So those kind of things is going to happen in the deployment phase. Then it's gonna first at the time of deployment, right, it has to first check, hey, already the EC2 instance up and running, it is serving the application with the older version. So when you want to deploy the latest version of code in your EC2 instance, first you have to stop the current existing thing, which is the old version where it is serving the application, right, that you have to stop it. And then it is gonna execute the before install hook. So it's gonna apply all the installation process, and then it's gonna be complete the installation steps, and then finally it is gonna start the application. In here, start the application in the sense whatever the EC2 previously we stopped, right, it's gonna again raise, I mean, have the latest data is been set with the new version of the code get deployed in EC2. Now EC2, when you hit the EC2 or else you expose this EC2 with a load balancer with a DNS, so when you hit that specific URL, browser URL, it's gonna get the latest data. That's it. Thank you.